Hi, I'm Dr. Craig Martin, and welcome to the Inside Connection. We have a really great show lined up for you. The topic is the element of water. There are 3 water signs: Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. The element water in all of us is about our emotions. It's about sensitivity and feelings. Yes, feelings. You know, those things that make your life so high and so low. Many people have a hard time with feelings because, well, they cause us to feel something. The good feelings, we don't like to lose hold of them, and the bad feelings, we wish we never had to encounter them in the first place. But we all have feelings, and it's our emotions that keep us connected with each other. Without the watery part of our personalities, we wouldn't have empathy, sympathy, compassion, or love. And that sounds awful. But it's just the beginning of why water is so important to us. In our lives, the element water rules our intuition, our ability to care for someone else, and our imagination. Water people are great storytellers, and they're always there with the best shoulder to cry on when we need it. Water symbolizes people who are artists, caregivers, doctors, healers, and it's also about intuitive people like detectives and people who write murder mysteries. Some really great people have been born under water signs, great artists like Rembrandt, Picasso, and Michelangelo, all water. And also present-day actors like Meryl Streep, who's a Cancer, Leonardo DiCaprio, a Scorpio, and Eva Longoria is a Pisces. These people are all deeply emotional, and they're capable of sharing their emotions with us. But let's not get the idea that just because water is emotional, that water-style people just sit around dwelling on their emotions, or that they feel sorry for themselves all day. They don't. In fact, you know when you meet that person who in a very short time you're telling them your whole life story? That's a water person. They listen. They're easy to talk to because we can tell that they care. So come on, let's dive in and take a deeper look at water. What is water all about? Well, it's the element that rules our emotions and the way we feel. It's not actually about the way we express our feelings. You see, 10 people could say that they're feeling happy, but they might all be expressing that happiness in a different way. Emotions are internal. They're about an inner experience. Water is extremely subjective. What makes one person happy might not make another person feel the same way. And it creates the power behind many of our actions and the decisions we make. We tend to move towards what makes us feel good, and we move away from what makes us feel bad. So emotions actually steer many of the choices that we make in life. As you know, emotions are very complex. In fact, it takes some people a long time to even understand what they're feeling. Words can't usually adequately express the way we feel, but facial expressions can. Like right now we're talking about water and using language, but if I just started laughing hysterically, you would get a clear idea of how I was feeling. I can talk to you about water, but it would be much more accurate if I was screaming at you or if I was sobbing at you in front of you. You'd get a much better understanding of how I was feeling. Get the picture? Water is about how we express what we're feeling, about our experience. So one reason water is connected to art is because a picture is worth 1,000 words. See, through art, we are able to get a much clearer expression of how we feel than if we were only limited to words. And great actors also show us emotional experience behind a character. They're playing that character, but it's so much more than the words that they're saying. Water also acts like a mirror, right? We can all see our reflection in water. That's why water people are so good at understanding us. They have to feel what we feel in order to be able to show it back to us. Let's look at the positive traits of water. There are 3 water signs: Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Let's look at the positive side and start off with Cancer. Cancers are very nurturing and protective. They're domestic. Cancer rules the archetype of the mother. So think of Meryl Streep, who played a mother in Sophie's Choice, or Princess Diana, who is also a Cancer, and we know how devoted she was to her sons. Cancers are very devoted to home life, to domestic happiness. Tom Hanks is a Cancer. He's a gentle, deeply feeling guy. And Nancy Reagan is a Cancer. Think about how nurturing she was and how concerned and how she stepped up and took care of Ronald Reagan at the end of his life. Cancers are caregivers and they have great compassion for others. Cancers are also very domestic, and that doesn't mean that they just like to clean the house all day. It's about the nostalgia, reminiscence, and how they create a strong foundation for us to launch from in a successful way. They create a home, a base that we can rely on, where we can go back and recharge ourselves. Cancers love to create that kind of environment for themselves and the people in their lives. Let's move on to Scorpio. I'm a Scorpio. Scorpios are intuitive, charismatic, intense, and truth-seeking. Some people find Scorpios intimidating because they have a strong intuition. It makes people feel like they can't hide. It's not a negative trait for Scorpio, but for others, they feel more vulnerable when they are under that kind of intense scrutiny. It can be disarming for other people. Scorpios, like Larry King and Neil Young, are both truth seekers. Either in journalism or music, you can see that. And Condoleezza Rice, very poised and intense, you can feel she's just looking right through you. She's not intimidated, she's intimidating. And the positive traits for Pisces, these guys are empaths. They're capable of feeling what we're feeling. They can be extremely selfless, giving, charitable, and they're often involved in art, poetry, and situations where feelings can be communicated really deeply through art. They have beautiful eyes, very deep. Both Daniel Craig and Elizabeth Taylor are both Pisces, known for their beautiful eyes. Elizabeth Taylor actually represents the sympathy, compassion, and charitable nature of Pisces, as she started many charitable foundations under her name. Pisces are also connected to psychic and mediumistic phenomenon, something we're all interested in. Because they're sensitive to the emotional collective, they're connected to the emotional experience of all people, everybody. If they're in tune, they can tap into connections that exist between everyone. When an earthquake happens halfway around the world, Pisces feels it so much faster than we can even get it out on the news. Edgar Cayce, he was a famous American health psychic. He could answer questions about healing. He would go into a kind of mediumistic trance and tell people what was wrong with their health. He diagnosed people with diseases before the X-ray machine, and he was always right. He was a Pisces. So what are the negative traits of the water signs? Well, you see, all the water signs can overreact because their actions come from their emotions. They become more emotional than any other signs would. Less emotional people can be more logical. This is why people think that water signs are kind of crazy sometimes. Cancers, in particular, can be emotionally hysterical. Lindsay Lohan is a good example of that. They can worry all the time. Their care and concern for others turns into a true hyper-emotionalism where they become hugely oversensitive. Cancers can also be smothering, and when they feel protective of you, you can really feel suffocated, like you don't even have room to breathe. For all the signs, the negatives are connected to the positives. Scorpio, for example, it's their intense investigative nature. They're aware that everyone has a dark side. They're aware that everyone is capable of betraying us or hurting us, so they can become very suspicious and very jealous. They can be very distrustful. They are also sarcastic. It's that cynical kind of humor based on the negative belief that all people have a negative side to them. The author Bram Stoker was a Scorpio. He externalized all the darkness in the sign onto his character. All the bloodlust and sexual charisma of Scorpio is there for us all to see in Dracula. Jamie Lee Curtis is a Scorpio, and she's a scream queen. Rock Hudson was a Scorpio. He was the kind of sexy, compelling Scorpio that we want to see, but he also kept HIV a secret, and that's the secretive side of Scorpio. And the negative side of Pisces, escapism and isolation. Poor Pisces. Pisces have a desire to isolate themselves. They do this because they're so empathic. They need to get away from feeling. They often escape with drugs, alcohol, sleep, food. Pisces is the king and queen of addiction. Elizabeth Taylor is a good example of that. She was someone who became drug addicted and just couldn't handle all the pain. Others see Pisces as flaky and unreliable, but from the Pisces point of view, they need space. When they say they're going to call and they don't, it's not because they don't want to, it's because they're emotionally overwhelmed. They actually can't even make the call. They're not able to absorb any other emotions from anyone else. When they experience that, they're just overloaded and they check out. It makes it seem as if they're dismissing us, but they're really not. They just need to take a step back. Kurt Cobain, great example of that. He did the ultimate escape. He checked out on us permanently. Bobby Fischer, great famous American chess player, he also just vanished and disappeared. Good examples of Pisces are George Harrison. He wrote all that sensitive, very transcendent music for the Beatles. And Ted Kennedy is a Pisces. He cared about the well-being of the whole country. Compatibility column. Let's look at the compatibility between water and earth. The three water signs are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, and the three earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Basically, this is a very good, in fact, great combination, very compatible. Water is emotional, and earth is grounded enough to handle the ups and downs that we normally see in an emotional water type. And earth is methodical and practical, and water can understand why, because these kinds of qualities make earth people emotionally stable. And water appreciates that, believe me. For water and earth, it's like a vessel, the cup made of clay or fine porcelain. That's the earth. And it can contain or hold the emotions. That's the water. And that's how these two work so well together. One example of a great water-earth couple who are working it out is Barbra Streisand and James Brolin. Barbara is a Taurus, earth, and James is a Cancer, water. Together in their charts, you can see how Streisand can count on her husband for emotional support, reassurances, and protection, while she offers him, in return, security, loyalty, and appreciation of the finer things in life. It's the match they've waited for, and it's working. That's a good water-earth match. Drama! A Pisces escape routine wreaks havoc on her boyfriend. Here's what happened. A guy I know asked his Pisces girlfriend to be more accountable to him, and she agrees. Then, a few days later, she doesn't tell him till a few hours before she's leaving for the airport that she's taking off to Austin. He loses it. They have a huge fight. He feels betrayed and like she just doesn't care. He really loses trust in her. But for the Pisces, it was all about protecting her need for space. She didn't realize what a big deal this was going to be and that she was really skipping out on him. She needs to learn to be more accountable to someone else. She can't just take off whenever she wants if she wants her relationship to work. Not easy for Pisces, but I think they're going to work it out. We're reading Barack Obama's chart today, the president. Barack Obama is a Leo. He has great leadership abilities, and he also has a reputation for being a bit full of himself, which is fine. Leos are pretty awesome, so we can let being full of himself slide just a little bit. He's very relationship oriented. Actually, anyone who's born around sundown is. That's an interesting thing about astrology, is that the time that we're born is very important in determining the lessons that we're here to learn. So, President Obama is relationship oriented, and we know that. He never lets an occasion pass where he doesn't mention Michelle publicly, and he knows how important she is to his success. He has some very strong planets in Virgo also, and that's what makes him so metered, so cool, collected, and so well thought out. Without all that Virgo, he might be more like a bad Leo and just be arrogant, but Virgo makes him service-oriented and dedicated to his work and career. The other interesting thing about his chart is that he has Aquarius rising. He truly is a high-minded and idealistic man. It's nice because the US chart has some very prominent Aquarius in its chart too. The United States is a very high-minded and humanitarian country. So it's nice to have a president who is aligned with those ideals. Looking at the future, we see more prominent women figuring into his administration. Some new ones that will emerge this year, and one, and this is a bit of a warning, so if you're listening, Mr. President, pay attention, at least one woman who will be a bit of a disappointment, a disillusionment, in fact. It won't be your wife, but look out for someone, probably a woman, but it could be a country, who you think has got your back, but really doesn't know how to keep their mouth shut. This is coming from strong Neptune square your moon that rules disillusionments and emotional dissatisfactions. That's all. Other than that, you will continue to rise to the occasion, and this year is going to be a success on track. Did you know that the molecular structure of water actually changes in response to non-physical events and messages? The Japanese photographer Masaru Emoto shows in his book The Hidden Messages in Water that if we take a regular glass of water and tape a message on it like love, peace, or hate, the actual structure of the water molecules change. Water can be influenced by emotional energy. L-O-V-E, water. I'll have a sip of that. Ah, love. It really changes its own structure and creates an imprint of what you feel. It's interesting to know, especially when we recognize we are about 60% water ourselves. Frozen water crystals form beautiful or not so beautiful snowflake shapes when they're exposed to good or bad thoughts or messages. Just like those facial expressions that indicate the emotions that we are feeling on the inside, water takes on a structural expression. It actually changes its shape based on the emotions that we feel around it. That's the basis for our intentions. You impart your emotions into the water, and the world around you changes shape. This is a Global Energy Minute. It's about the planetary horoscope, the energy that's available for all of us. This is a very exciting time as we move into a period of real Aries energy. We have 4, or even for a couple of weeks, 5 planets in Aries, and that's bringing about a time of self-awareness, motivation, and high energy. On a planetary level, it means advances in creativity and activities related to individual achievement. It can also bring about a kind of aggressive behavior that we have to watch out for. Just because we're bigger, smarter, or whatever, doesn't mean we have the right to take advantage of anyone. Also, there is great energy right now for writers, journalists, people in the media, and documentarians, with some significant energy hanging out in Gemini. All forms of communication are highlighted. On a personal note, expand your social network at this time. We are all going to get by with a little help from our friends. Moving forward, looks like drug legalization is going to expand, and more states are going to put this on the ballot boxes. Neptune in Pisces represents expanded awareness through transcendence, pot just being one way that people can feel more enlightened. They'll also look for a renewed spiritual or religious energy, as many people are going to want to find other ways to reach their higher selves. And finally, don't be alarmed by the many changes that are going on right now socially. This is a time of cleaning house, of renewal, and of discovery. There's an old saying that you have to make a big mess to clean the house. So realize that any chaos you're seeing or feeling right now is just that. It's a process of cleaning out, clearing out, and making way for a cleaner, more sustainable future. Hang in there. And that's your Global Energy Minute. John, hi, welcome to the Inside Connection.
Hi, how you doing?
You know that you're a Virgo.
Correct.
In fact, you actually have more Libra in your chart than Virgo. You're really a very relationship-oriented guy.
That makes sense.
What I want to ask about is, I think it's the fall of 2011. Did you meet someone then? Did you break up with someone then?
I was in the middle of kind of like being diagnosed with MS.
That's a really big moment that changes the course of the way in which you are, interacting with people. Part of this year has really been about you coming to terms with what you kind of need to leave behind and how you need to sort of move forward in your life and be more grown up.
Yeah, when I got diagnosed, I had to stop a lot of like my childish ways.
You have Saturn in Libra, and you have Libra rising, and you have Pluto in Libra, and you have Mercury in Libra. There's all those planets in Libra. When you were born, only the sun was actually in Virgo. And that Libra part of you makes you want to have relationships with people. They're not always easy, but it's a way in which you define yourself. Like being married and having a wife is something that I think probably you always knew that you were going to have, or you always wanted to have that in your life.
I waited until I found my wife for a lot of things, and never really felt too comfortable in a lot of situations that led to that point.
You found your wife at 24 years old, or even earlier than that?
Yeah, we were 16 when we started dating.
Well, that's waiting a long time, let me tell you. You set yourself up with a really serious, committed partnership, and you were only a teenager.
Yes.
That's very Libra.
Okay.
That Libra energy. And in fact, I'll tell you something. The horoscopes, in the newspaper are totally different than reading a chart, but just for your curiosity, Libra will make a lot more sense to you than Virgo.
Okay, yeah, I have realized that when I do read about Libra, I see a lot of me in that sign.
Did you say you have children?
No, I don't. I always saw myself with a son or a daughter since I was like very young. Since I was 12, 13, 14, I just always saw like that's the way it was supposed to be.
Right, yeah, well, I see actually a daughter in your future.
Okay, interesting.
I would say 2, 3, 5, actually maybe like 4 or even 5 years from now. And that might seem a long way off, but there are other things that you're focused on right now. I think that MS is a challenge, but you're going to learn how to manage that. Some years will pass and you're going to reconsider that you wanted to have kids, or that you still actually do want to have kids, because there's an enormously sensitive part of you that wants to be able to connect in that way.
Okay, I can certainly see that. I kind of feel like I can, like when I go to a party or something, and the kids are all downstairs playing, like I feel a little bit more comfortable and at home being in that environment.
Yeah. I know how young you are at heart. Like you're the kind of person who's like the little kid on the playground. Like if you don't want to share your toy, you don't share it. And if you want to, you're practically giving it away to them. So there's a real pull for you to operate in that innocent way. It was really good to talk to you and really good to have you on the show.
All right, yeah, you too. Thanks a lot.
You're very, very welcome, John. Blessings. Glenda, hi, welcome to the Inside Connection.
Hi.
It's nice to have you here.
Thank you.
First of all, you're a Gemini and you have Gemini rising. It makes you very social, talkative. You like to read, you like to talk, you like to hang out with people. And it makes the ruler of your chart, Mercury, which is the mind. You have Mercury in Taurus, so you really find, for a Gemini, loyalty is very important to you. You're very loyal and you want to make sure that people around you are very loyal. Your chart says that you have a lot of friends. They could be girls, they could be guys. It's something that, you feel actually really good about. Not just a lot of friends, but that they're important to you because you're the one who, facilitates friendship, goes out there, makes things happen.
A lot of my friends have met my other friends and they've met each other and now they're friends.
Right, because as a Gemini, you're also a connector and you're automatically able to tell people what it is that they have in common.
True.
How about this part of yourself where, you want to have a little attention put on yourself? Do you feel like you get the attention you're looking for?
If I go somewhere with my friends, it just happens that before you know it, people are just talking to me, but it's not because I'm doing anything different.
I know, you're helpless to your own charm and charisma.
I'm just being myself.
Because the moon is your ruler of your house of money, and you have the moon in Leo. So, as Leo is the lion, right? So, you always notice a lion, right?
Right, yes.
Okay, so since you've got your moon there and it's a part of your femininity, you're noticed because even though you might say okay, there's a lion and the lion doesn't say, well, I want to be noticed, but you kind of notice it because the energy is so big.
Right, okay.
Right. When you connect with that, when you understand that, when you're able to say oh, wow, it's called an archetype or a symbol. When you're able to say, wow, okay, I'm a Gemini and I understand the Gemini is like the writer or the reader. But a part of you is like the lion. And when you own her, that's when your career and your money and everything takes off.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
So, relationship, are you in one?
No, I wish.
You are right at a place where you could meet somebody if you wanted to. If you open up to it right now, you could definitely meet someone.
I hope so, because it's time.
Well, are you attracted to men from a different, background?
I'm starting to be. I'm not sure why. That's so interesting that you bring that up.
Yeah, because I see it in your chart and you're starting to become aware that you're interested maybe in a spiritual person, maybe a person who's either from a different country or their background is from a different country.
Right, yes.
Okay, so knowing somebody that's different from you, that has a different background, because there's something for you to really learn there about culture and sort of the philosophy of life.
Last Sunday, I was with a few friends. We went out for brunch. And that was my topic, that I would like to meet someone from a different background.
Well, you see, then you're right in the energy of your chart, which is really good. When we read someone's chart and they say kind of over and over again, wow, that's really what's happening, because we still always have a choice. That's what's really interesting about chart readings. And I would say, let's say 80-90% of people are in the spirit of their chart. They're in the energy because we kind of do know what's coming up. We kind of can sense it and we kind of know the moves that we need to take. Especially if we become more aware of our own life and what it is we need to do to take control of it, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, work. Let me talk to you just a little bit about work. Has that changed a little at all, even in the last couple of weeks? There's some changes in what it is that you're doing at work.
I have to take a state exam, and that would change a lot. Because if I pass the test, then I'm going to be certified to what I want to do.
So, create a lot of space around passing the test because that's the energy that's coming towards you.
It is.
Yeah. And so all you need to do is embrace that and just keep moving forward.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome so much. Thanks for being on the show. John, welcome to the Inside Connection.
Very nice to be here.
You ready to jump in with me here?
I certainly am.
Your chart tells me that you're a really detail-oriented, really grounded, really earthy guy. The other big part of your chart is actually Cancerian. You have Venus and Mars both in the sign Cancer, which makes you kind of maternal, actually, protective and nurturing. The kind of guy that might go out back and maybe, like, you know, do a little action on the barbecue grill, something like that. Very protective of family and friends. That practicality, efficiency, career, money, loyalty, dependability, reliability. This is really a lot of what you're about. And there's a little more, but that's a big part of who you are.
You're dead on, by the way.
I think overall you need to be careful that you're not too hard on yourself and that you're not so cautious, because you're a little more fearful of making a mistake, that you don't take the chances that actually could bring you in what you're really looking for. You know, more stability and a greater sense of wealth, really, and accomplishment.
I think you're on, but I didn't completely realize that monetary aspect of it because of what you're just touching on now. I think I'm too task oriented, and I think I delve into the minutia too much, and I get sidestepped. I get sidestepped a bit, and it causes me a problem. I miss opportunities, I would say.
That was one of your issues, was that you get too caught up in the details. It's too much Virgo, and rather than saying, like, okay, this is going to work out well enough, I can kind of see it already, you're so concerned that it's going to be perfect, that it's going to work out perfect, that you miss the opportunity to say, okay, I can see it's going to be a good thing. Go for it, because whatever I'm not looking at right now actually will work itself out, because you actually have an intuition. That's going back to that other part of you, the maternal part, the more, you know, I know I called you the money guy, but actually there's a little bit of a mother hen in there, you know, and she's tough. She's protecting everybody, and she wants to make sure that things are really safe. So that energy that's inside of you is, you're needing to balance that, like, well, how much risk really puts you out there, and would you not be safe? And it's something you're exploring and something you're going to continue to get better at. There's also something in your chart about shifting spiritual beliefs, like, you know, the way in which you're, you know, perceiving the energy around you, or what's your connection to God, and how does that play into what's going on in family and life. And listening more to that intuition becomes really important to you, as if we have that ability to connect with that higher consciousness. And I think that's something you're really considering more and more lately.
You know, that's amazing. I will say to you that, and it could be just the fact that you're busy with life, and you know that religion and all aspects of it are important in your life, and they should be. But it started over the last 6 or 7 months ago, where it was a tiny whisper, and now it's grown into this, I don't know, a slow rumbling where it's trying to point me in a certain direction.
Do you have a spiritual place you can go?
Absolutely.
It's a very intense experience for you.
Oh, it has been a ride, my brother. It has been a ride, you know.
John, it's been really good talking to you.
I thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much for coming on the show. I'm Dr. Craig Martin. Thanks for joining me on the Inside Connection. I'll see you next time.